Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Good evening, good afternoon to you all. Um, Today's topic, we're going to be talking about feeding grants in colleges of education of Ghana. And when it comes to teachers, etc., etc., it's like we've all been taught by teachers. Even the president himself, even the president of the United States of America, was schooled by the teacher. The vice president of the United States of America was schooled by the teacher. The vice president of Ghana, I mean, everybody was schooled by a teacher. So when it comes to issues pertaining teachers, it's so close and dear to our heart. It's 2 p.m. Eastern Time from the studio here in Pennsylvania, United States of America. And it's 7 p.m. in Tamale, Ghana. I know, my own home country. 9 p.m. GMT in Cape Town, South Africa. And then 8 p.m. in Abuja, Nigeria. I'm calling all these respective
Hello?
countries because in the next month we'll be having people coming from all these
Hello?
respective countries to participate in our program. Hello and good afternoon and good evening to you, depending on where you are watching us from. Thank you for tuning in into Mozart Woods
Hello?
Media. Remember, we are streaming live across the globe on all our social media platforms. Mozart Woods Media. Don't forget to like and share this program. Okay? All right. In our political affairs show today, we are discussing the challenges and confronting feeding grant in colleges of education in Ghana. We are we are asking whether the time has come for government to review this decade-old ritual where teacher training are fed 3 square meals a day. Indeed, about 4 days ago, the Ghanaian education minister, Dr. Yao Osei to Mumi, announced at a press conference in Accra that the government has released some 67 million cedis to colleges of education to center to cater for their feeding. This followed an earlier threat by the principals of colleges of education that teachers training will begin feeding themselves from 8th of May due to the non-payment of feeding grant by government. For your information, this is not the first time such concern has been raised about delays in payment of feeds grant. Therefore, we are asking in our political affairs program tonight whether the government should scrap the policy. That's a question. Joining us for this discussion live from Ghana is Mr. Divine Kpe, and he is an educational and a research fellow at the African Educational Watch. We also have we're supposed to have the deputy speaker for the Ministry of Education Ghana, Yao Opokumen Samba. He's on his way. He will join us later in the program. As well as we have the president of Teachers Training Association of Ghana, TAG, Jonathan Zenu. Gentlemen, you are welcome onto the show.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you. And
Wow.
have a good
Wow.
evening.
Anyway, what is going on in Ghana? How are you all? And then how is the weather? Unfortunately, here in the US, the weather is just like Ghana. So that's why I'm in this kind of shirt. Anyway, so first question goes to Mr. Jonathan. Are you a student? Let's see. Um, we hear government has released some money for your feeding. What is the situation like on campus in Ghana as we speak right now?
Thank you very much. The situation has been very terrible for the fact that allowances have not been paid for 7 months. Allowances have been in arrears, and it was a very difficult moment for us as students until I think Monday or Tuesday when the minister held a press conference and addressed the nation that some monies have been released by government to pay teacher trainees allowance. And I think that came as a relief, though we are yet to receive the money as students, but it came as a relief, and I must say.
how do you feel when this allowance comes at a later stage of your education, at a later stage of your semester?
It always makes things very difficult because as a semester begins, there are
Right.
things that need to be done as students. So when the allowance delays, in a way, it puts some level of difficulty
Okay.
on the student.
All right. Okay. I think we have the deputy speaker here of education, Mr. Opoku. Mr. Opoku, can you hear me loud and clear? Mr. Opoku, can you hear me? All right. Let's proceed to Mr. Divine. Um, what is the actual relationship between the feeding grant and the quality of teachers being produced? Is there any link at all? The feeding grant, and then the quality of teachers being produced. It looks like the feeding grant is being used to entice people to go into the ministry. I mean, you answer that question, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Martins,
Thank you. Can
from
you raise your
Ghana.
voice a little bit,
And
please? Yeah.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
And yeah, and
Also drink water.
Jonathan, it's good meeting you once again.
Yeah.
All right, there's no study from our end, or even from what we've seen,
Right.
that has established the relationship between students or teachers' quality and
Right.
the allowance that they receive in colleges of education. There's no study to that effect.
Okay.
But primarily, we know that the allowance is to get more people to enroll in the colleges of education. That's the primary reason for the institution of the colleges of education allowance policy. Recently, we'll be seeing a changes in that policy direction, although it's not formal, but from the Ministry of Education point of view, it appears that the initial purpose is being shifted from, which is to attract more people, to what we are now understanding is that it is to get students bonded so that they can be posted to deprived areas in the country. So over the years, it is to get more, and it has achieved its purpose, of course, because we have seen indeed a good increase in percentage of trained teachers across all the levels of our pre-tertiary education. If you look at KG, primary, GHS, we are talking about a percentage of trained teachers being over 90%. That's remarkable. And we know initially persons wouldn't love to go to colleges of education if not for the allowance.
All
But
right.
some people have indeed gone because of the allowance. And over the years, it has increased the output of teachers that we have received. And Ghana right now, I'm not sure we are having a challenge with, as far as teacher deficit is concerned, we are not having a challenge. In fact, we are having surplus if you look at the data. So
Okay.
the allowance has achieved its purpose. And strongly if today the allowance is removed, it won't
All right.
affect the output of teachers at all.
So, is there any statistic to show that the teachers are excited that they are now teachers, though they were enticed to get into the ministry through this kind of incentive? Are they happy that they are now teachers? Are they okay? Are they okay with their outkeep, their salary, etc., etc.? Let me throw that to the deputy speaker. Deputy speaker, yes, sir. Can you hear me loud and clear, Mr. Poku? It looks like Mr. Poku has a serious problem with okay, let me proceed to Mr. Divine. You see, the next question is going to sound a little bit political, but let's see. The previous government has scrapped teaching trainee allowances in order to enroll more teachers, as you spoke, for training. This current administration has cancelled that, which means enrollment to colleges of education must be scrapped. I don't know whether if you understand the question. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm following you. Yeah.
yeah. Would you, as a researcher, would you say that approach has really helped in closing the teacher-student relationship in the country?
All right. We know that we were at a point that the allowance had to be scrapped.
Right.
And I know it took a serious political consideration because the implication was very dicey to the then government. And I'm sure to date, it has cost them dearly. No one can discount the fact that cancellation of teacher trainees allowance has affected the NDC performance in the 2016 election.
Mm.
It has indeed affected them politically. And notwithstanding, we believe it was a very good decision they took to cancel the allowance. And unfortunately, political coloring of the whole issue has brought us to the point of punishing them at the poll. But we know that it was a good decision, which over the years, persons in the advocacy sector, education advocacy sector, has pushed forward so strongly for the cancellation of this allowance. And so when we got to that point of its cancellation, we were happy that yes, that purpose was achieved. But it was a great political tool in the 2016 election, and
Mm.
it has won vote for the MPP. And here is the MPP in government now implementing the policy.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't need anybody to tell us that the MPP government is struggling to carry on with the policy
All right.
with arrears all over. And this is not the first time we're talking of the trainees' money being arrears.
Right.
So it has been an issue, and the MPP party, elements within the party, we have had a good relationship with the MPP MPs, especially those on the education committee. We've had a talk with them just to keep and lobbying for the cancellation of this allowance the more. And some of them admitted that yes, indeed, it is a challenge. Some of them they do not even subscribe to it anymore, but they just because of its political coloring, they know it can be very dicey and it can be very punitive at the pool. They are very cautious as to how to push for it. But if you look at the data and the policy objective, we have achieved the objective of that particular teacher trainees allowance policy.
Right.
It has been achieved. And therefore, in policy implementation, one of the stages is to evaluate whether the objective has been achieved. If it has achieved, and we also move to evaluate to see whether there's a need for you to one, to change the policy in the
Right.
way of canceling it, or changing a part of it, or enacting a new policy to override that. These are some of the things that they do in policy analysis. And if you look at the teacher trainees allowance issue, particularly, the policy objective has been achieved by
Right.
getting more teachers enrolled in the education sector.
Right.
And therefore, if you want to look at should we enact a new policy to ask to how to again to continue paying teacher trainees allowance, there'll be no need for that. Do we have to change part of the policy? There's no need changing part of the policy. Do we have to cancel or terminate this policy? Yes, that is the right thing to do at this particular point in time. But
Okay.
the financial stress is so much on government. And in Ghana, education financing is one of the issues that we are be facing.
Right.
Education finance is one of the issues that we be facing. And
Right.
up to date, we don't know, we have not fully have the ground on how to finance our education.
Okay.
We have some of the sources from government of Ghana. We have from IGF. We have
Mm.
from donors. These are some of the sources that we have been having to finance our education. And by international benchmark, government is expected to set aside 4 to 6% of its GDP to finance
Right.
education. And
Okay.
if you look at the annual budget level, government is expected to spend 15% to 20% of its total budget on education. What has been a
Wow.
trend over the years? Tremendously, we have been performing well. Even compared to some well-performing countries, some of them they do not even allocate that much to their education sector. US, for instance, spends like 4.9% of its education GDP on
Right.
education.
Mhm.
We even spend more than that. We spend an average of 6% on some of the time.
Right.
So we spend much on our education, but we don't get much from it. Those who even spend less on education, their GDP on education, they even get much from their education. We that are
Why?
spending much,
I'm not
yeah,
cutting
I
you.
think you
Why don't we get much from our education? Just
good,
cite some few example. Yes. And then
good.
from there, I'll go to Mr. Jonathan to ask. But
All
I
right.
just want you to finish that by saying, why don't we get much from our
It
education?
is obvious if you compare our education system to where you are, the disparity is so huge. Student performance. We are talking about a country where 89% of its grade six, or we will call it primary six students,
Yeah.
complete grade six they haven't achieved the minimum proficiency in literacy and numeracy. That is the challenge we face. 89% of your students, after completion of what's the name, primary 6, they are not proficient in numeracy and then literacy. Now, study also shows that Ghana, we spend on average of 11.6 years in education from
Divine,
KG,
Divine.
yes,
Hold on.
yeah.
Let's see whether if the deputy speaker is here because I want to pin him on this matter. Mr. Deputy Speaker, can you hear me, sir? Hello, can you hear me? It's so difficult. Divine, proceed, please. Yeah.
All right. So that is just one of the instances I've cited that grade 6 or primary 6 students, 80% are not achieving the minimum proficiency in literacy and then numeracy. Now, in Ghana, we spend like 11.6 years in school. From KG up to GSS 3, we spend like 11.6 years in school. And the study also is showing that the amount of knowledge students receive at the end of the 11.6 years is just equivalent to six years in school. So in essence, students are wasting 5 good years in school. The amount of knowledge students receive after spending 11.6 years in school is just equivalent to 5.6 years in school. So they are in school, but they are not receiving much. And our studies, the student performance, early grade education performance, assessment performance, all reviews have been showing that the average for the student at class 2 or grade 2 is about 22%. Those who can achieve proficiency is about 22%. So we are not getting much, although we are spending 2% more of our GDP compared to the top 5 countries that are doing well in education. We spend 2% more when it comes to GDP on education, more than those people, but they get well done. So the point I'm making is that there is a problem of spending inefficiency in the system. Although we are spending much, we are not getting much from it, just because the money is supposed to go to essential areas, but it is not reaching there. An example of this is the teacher trainees allowance. Right. So though you have budgetary allocation to several that could be higher, when you are spending the money, the priority may be wrong. And we believe that if you look at since the government came into power, they have spent from 2017 to now, they have spent 862.3 million on feeding teacher trainees. That's how much they've spent. And that could solve, and that, let me just mention that this amount is even more than the amount that we spend on special education subsector. Right. So there's a lack of spending efficiency in the system. And the teacher trainees allowance is just one.
Yeah. Government is spending. From your observation, government is spending. I don't know at which angle do they spend, because if you say the government is spending, yes, the government is spending, but at which area? Because we go to some schools and they don't even have how do you call it, technical workshop. Their chemical laboratories are outmoded, etc. But let me go to Mr. Jonathan. Mr. Jonathan, can you hear me? Oh, your line is gone out. Jonathan, I can't hear your voice, please. Please come. Jonathan, can you hear me? Well, Jonathan, your voice, I can hear your voice. So you have to do something about your mic. It looks like you've muted your mic. Yes. And I want to make an announcement. It looks like some people had the link to this program accidentally, and they are trying to log into the studio. No, if you want to participate, you don't have to log into the studio. You can go to a text message, or you can go to Facebook, Mozart Woods Media, or you can go to YouTube, Mozart Woods Media, and then you can send a text message from there, and then I'll receive. Or if you have a WhatsApp and you want to call into the program and contribute, then just call on this number, 917 962 7716. I'll just log you straight into the program. Now, Mr. Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Jonathan, they say they want to scrap the money.
I
just want to be simple. They say they want to scrap the money. What have you got to say about it?
Yes, I think it's a no-no for us as teacher trainees. We are not in support of that. And I think that some of the reasons that my good brother, Mr. Divine, mentioned, I don't know. I don't know where. Well, some of us are not even privy to his data, but he keeps saying that we have teachers in SS in Ghana. I always don't understand because what they keep different from the realities on the ground. So if he keeps saying there are teachers in SS, while I'm not privy to his data, I don't know which samples were used. But what I know is that, and I think most Ghanaians know that if you go to the basic schools, you go to the classroom, the situation is different from what they always talk about. So for us, we still stand by the fact that the reason for which the allowance was restored by government is still stands, unless of course he wants to tell us that we don't need teachers, and for that matter, government took the wrong decision. And I believe that if you speak to people in government, just like he said, he has spoken to some MPs. Yes, we equally engage some people in government, and they tell us that look, the reason for which we brought this allowance back, we still stand by it, and it's the best reason for which we brought it. So for me, this conversation, and it's not even in the best interest of teacher trainees. And he, Mr. Divine, he knows the importance of this allowance. And just that I don't know, he don't want to accept it. I don't know, and I don't even know why. He knows very well. He
All right.
knows.
Mr. Divine,
Unless
I
of course
think he's playing with this.
unless of course he tells me that the reasons for which some people enjoy this allowance some time ago, that reason is no more in existence.
I,
I,
I don't think from a political analyst point of view, I don't think our education should be politicized. I don't think our education should be politicized at all. You understand? Because another regime comes, that's okay, we're going to give you the allowance. Another regime comes, we are scrapping it off. I mean, to me, from where I stand and from where I am, even though I'm not supposed to have an opinion on this show, I don't think our education should be politicized at all. What do you think about it? If we have to give you guys allowance, any another administration that comes must also proceed with that. What do you think about it?
yes, as a country, I think that we should have a way forward in terms of how we do our things. So if you say we shouldn't politicize things, I agree that as a country, we need to move in a certain direction. We have to have maybe a national policy or in the interest of the nation. So in that angle, I accept it.
Right. Mr. Divine,
Yeah,
it looks
Martins.
like a question was thrown to you, and I would like you
Yeah,
to
can I
answer
come
that
in?
question, please.
Yeah, I have to answer.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Proceed.
For me, he said that I know. Let me address this. I was a teacher trainee. I was a teacher trainee.
All right.
I trained as a teacher. I was in colleges, one of the colleges of education. I enjoyed the allowance. You know,
Okay.
I received the allowance. So,
Yeah.
by now, when you are faced with reality, you have to throw away sentiment and then interest and face the data. All right. So
All right.
my position right now, I'm no longer a teacher. I have been
Okay.
engaging the data, and he keeps asking where am I getting the figures from? The figures don't either. The figure I'm giving is from EMIS, Education Management Information System. That is telling me that we have more of excess teachers. If you look at the data, the number of classrooms we have
Okay.
92,346 classrooms in Ghana.
Right. Okay.
And now this is the number of teachers, 109,703. So in excess, there are 26% of teachers in excess. That if you want to just take it on the face value, on a very simple face value to say, okay, one teacher is to be in each classroom, we can just say that with the number of classrooms and the number of teachers that are in the system, they are in excess. The point he's making that, okay, even if you go to some of the areas, they still don't have teachers in classroom.
Right.
The fact is that what we are facing is distribution of resources in the education sector. There's a problem with that. We are be talking about that. Aside the education finance distribution, there's an iniquity in that. Distribution of teachers, there's iniquity in that. So you will see that you go to some areas, there will not be teachers in some classrooms just because we have not efficiently deployed teachers. If we can deploy teachers in this country, trust me.
Proceed. I can hear you. I can hear you, Divine.
Yeah, there will not be any classroom in this country. There will be lacking teachers. But the problem is about distribution of systems. Teachers, some in the deprived areas particularly, some spend 1 year and they leave because of the conditions over there. And then they move to the urban areas, and the problem is being faced in peri-urban and then rural areas because we have not improved the conditions in those areas to keep and maintain the teachers. So you can get more teachers, but one issue is about their retainment. What are you doing to retain them in these deprived areas? So the data clearly shows that we have teachers. And of course, if you take allowance, let me make this point clear. If you take allowance away today, you will still get more people going to colleges of education.
Right.
Why? Previously, it was diploma in education. Today, it is degree awarding. So by the time they complete, they are having a certificate that is of the same value to somebody that has gone to the university. So that alone is even enough incentive for somebody to go there. Okay, at the end of the day, I am not going to have a diploma, but I'm going to get a certificate that is of the same value to somebody that has attended a university. So that is enough incentive for somebody to go there. Number two, another incentive is that for teachers, even compared to those that have gone to the university, there's already a job available for them. They even get more engagement from government from those that attended the university. Government
Hold on. Did you say radio job?
Readily available job.
Okay. All right. I need
so
a
there's
opinion on that.
available job for them. Yeah. So for them, it's a kind of some guarantee over there that okay, if you complete, government is going to post you. Their colleagues in the university, some of them are still in the house. It's a challenge for some of them, those that have attended the university. So for me, I believe right now, the issue right now is no longer to use allowance as a bait to get people into the profession. That debate is moot. Now, the new argument that they are making is that we want to use the allowance so as a bond so that we can post them to deprived areas. But Martin, let's get this right.
Right.
If that is your approach, then there's a lack of equity in it. Why not rather maintain the allowance, stop the allowance, and use it to pay those teachers that would rather accept the posting into the deprived areas? If you allow all of them to enjoy the allowance in the 48 colleges of education, and then majority of them are going to post to the non-deprived areas, and then some of them are posted to deprived areas, and you say because they have on enjoy allowance, those to go to deprived areas, they should accept it. Then there's no equity in that. You are treating those that are accepting posting to rural and then non-deprived areas. What you would have rather have done is that give that allowance, if that is your target, to get more of the student posted to deprived areas, then give that allowance and use it to improve condition there. Even if not to improve condition in the rural areas, you can also use it as incentive for teachers that will accept posting to those areas as allowance for them over there. And so deprived areas are allowance.
It looks like Jonathan want to speak.
Hello.
Wonderful, Mr. Opoku, Deputy Speaker. Thank you. This time I have gotten you. I want you to speak. We thank the Lord so much. Yes, I land. All right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me get into the system. Deputy Speaker, I want you to speak. I've been hunting for you for the past 3 weeks. All right.
Okay.
You've heard the submission.
Yeah, sure.
That you guys are using the allowance to entice the people to get themselves enrolled into the teaching ministry. And then Divine has also put in submission. What do you have to say about it? Since you're the Deputy Speaker of Education, spokesperson.
Okay. Let me say a good evening to yourself from Ghana here, and to my.
Don't do this to me. don't do this to me, Deputy Speaker. Don't do this to me. Don't go. All right, Mr. Jonathan. It looks like the Deputy Speaker's line is twisting. So you've heard what Divine has said, and I know you are not happy about it because I can see the continents. Land, what have you got to say, sir?
Yes, I want to speak into some of the issues that he raised earlier on the basis that he and you see the fact of this whole allowance thing is that where he was doing comparison between we in the colleges and then those at the universities. He knows for a fact that if you come to the colleges, the situation is far, far different. The situation from what happens at the universities. Now, if you check, people who go to the colleges, most of them are people that sometimes after completing senior high school, they have to stay at home for years, which means that these are people financially, they are not stable. And it's a fact. If you go and check, you see that most of the people in the colleges are there because they cannot go to the universities and afford fees. So rather, they will come to the colleges. And government thinks that, look, these people need that kind of support. You go to the colleges, everything about the student is checked. Your movement is checked. Even shirt we wear is prescribed.
Right.
You see, so it's just like we being under training. Just like you go to the military, you are under training. You go to the police, you are under training, and then as you are undergoing that training to come out, certain allowances are given to you. The situation is not far different from that.
Okay.
It's not far different from that. And I keep saying that he knows better. Mr. Divine Ekpe knows all this situation that comes around the training colleges. You go there, even moving, where you move to, the time you sleep, the time you wake up, all this, it tells you that the people are under a certain training or condition. And the government feels that, look, these people should be given this kind of incentive. We are posted to places where we don't even have control over. You are posted to places you don't even have control over. So what is wrong if government thinks that no, in one way or the other to keep these people committed, let's give them this package. And I want Mr. Ekpe and then other people to go around the colleges and then do a thorough study of how things are going on in the college. They will appreciate the fact that the allowance is needed. And I will not be surprised if they come back and then call for an increment to that trainees.
Martin, you know what?
Yes, I know. Let's see whether we can get a deputy speaker.
And you see,
deputy speaker, can you hear me? Mr. Yao, can you hear me? Deputy speaker, can you hear me? Don't worry. You will speak today before the program ends. No problem.
Yeah, it's not available.
All right, Divine.
Mr. Divine, you
right.
enjoy this allowance today. You are calling. You see, that's why I keep saying that. Unless, of course, you want to tell us that the reason for which you enjoy the allowance does not exist. You know that there are people who are still in the college. They cannot pay their fees. Sometimes some principals
I appreciate his consent. So
okay. Let him just wrap
yeah,
up.
that is the
Jonathan
point
wrap up.
You rightly made.
You see, as a country, we are going through a lot of reforms. We are going through a lot of reforms as far as this College of Education is concerned. And I feel that, look, until we get to a certain level, some of this discussion should not even be considered. People keep drawing the line, keep making a comparison between we in the colleges and the university. Go to the universities, they have all the infrastructure, the conducive environment for students to learn. Come to the colleges. We don't even have internet facility. Library is an issue. ICT labs so this allowance comes as a package to keep students motivated. So if you are calling for cancellation, Mr. Divine, you are not being fair to us. You are not being fair to us. You are not being fair to Ghana. You are not being fair to the teacher education.
Okay, so if
you are not being fair,
in
fact, you are not being fair to yourself because you enjoyed it.
Jonathan, I'm just listening to you,
yes.
And it's like we all know the tradition in Ghana's education. If you don't make it to the sixth form or maybe to the SSS, or you don't get it to the university, then maybe your alternative is the polytechnic. If you don't get into the polytechnic, that has always been a culture. Then your alternative is the teacher training, right? Now, you are saying that by giving you this incentive, it's a motivation. But if
what I'm trying to say is that What I'm trying to say is that government knows all the situation and the difficulty that the student goes through before coming out to take the job in helping to shape the future of this country.
Right.
So knowing very well what the challenges are, government feels that it is in the right direction for them to cushion the students at the time they are in school. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Divine.
Okay.
Before Mr. Divine, you come in. Let me see whether if I can get a deputy speaker. Mr. Yao, deputy speaker, can you hear me loud and clear? His signal is very bad. You can hear me. Okay. Mr. Divine, will you please proceed? He's landed some blows on you, and you have to give a counter.
When I speak of data. I don't
Right.
speak sentiments.
I
For us, we are data led, and whatever I'm saying is being informed by the data.
Right.
You see, he's saying that trainees, their condition is different.
Right.
And indeed, we appreciate that there are infrastructural challenges in the colleges of education. That is the more reason that we are asking in that they use those money to improve the state of infrastructure, just as John Mahama wanted to do it, to improve the state of infrastructure in the colleges of education. You can't be receiving allowance, and to the tune of to this year alone, government is going to spend 241.9 million on that. You are receiving that much, and you are still expecting that infrastructure will be well improved in the colleges of education. Not
Right.
so. Why won't you channel that amount to improve the state of infrastructure in the colleges of education? Now, somebody also asked, as the person asked, what is the alternative if I'm asking for cancellation of teachers' allowance? What is the alternative? That's from the comment section I've seen. That's good. The alternative is that trainees have the opportunity, just like any tertiary education student has access or can have access to the student's loan. Even
Right.
the amount that they'll receive will be much way higher than the allowance that they receive. So if it is about financial barrier, the student loan, if it's well improved, can remove that financial barrier. Then how much you receive? What 400 Ghana cedis a month? 200 goes into feeding, 200 goes into your pocket. What is the significance is that you can get more in student loan than what even comes into your pocket. 400 Ghana cedis a month. That's why we are saying that one, this money could be channeled to improve the state of infrastructure in the colleges of education.
All right.
Since they have assumed the status of a tertiary institution, they have to be treated as such. And in treating them as such is also improving the state of infrastructure, and then also applying other conditions that apply to university students, which includes access to student loan. So there is an option for that, for them to access student loan. You see, for you to treat two people, university student, they are going. He's talking about going to teach in a
I
deprived
think we
area.
have the deputy
Why
speaker
he's
on phone. I've managed to get him on the phone. So, Divine, please just
can I
hold on.
land with the point?
Deputy speaker.
Okay.
Divine, you will
Yes,
land.
sir.
I have managed to get you on your cell phone. You've heard the submissions. Right.
Yes, I've heard them, and I think we need to straighten the facts.
All right, go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Yes, what they need to understand is that those who do enter into the colleges of education are seen as partial government workers. Just like the recruitment into our security forces, where they go for a professional training before they are enrolled into the system.
All right.
The same thing applies to our colleagues who take up the challenge to be within our colleges of education. So that is why at the end of the day, they have that bond to stay in. And where their services are needed, that is where the employer posts them.
All right.
And again, what we need to understand is, again, that one, the content for the curriculum training specifically for our teacher training colleges
Right.
are developed by the employer themselves.
Okay.
Unlike the institution of training, dealing with the issues where the university develops its own academic program.
Okay.
Here, the content, the employer has a stake in that. So, for example, a person who enters or goes to a training college,
All right.
while the colleagues in probably in other tertiary institutions will be reading advanced maths that do not even have a basic education. Those in training colleges should be learning that. That is the base where you have to learn how to teach 1+1, how the concept look like before you do the you come out to do the impact on the society that probably you may find yourself. So we need to understand it from that context. So if that is so, then how should they be treated? When you go into a security force, when they are in training, they are paying these allowances.
All right.
Why do we do that? Because that is the choice where probably that is the pattern of recruitment, and that is not quite different from what our colleagues in the training colleges also receive. I think that is where we need to understand it from.
But in the military, after the training, if you are post somewhere, you cannot reject the post. You know that?
Yeah, we can start that conversation that if you are posted to where your service is needed, then you have no other choice. And again, I've never seen a training rejecting a posting to an area. I have never seen that because I'm a product of training college. What used to happen before the cancellation in 2013 or 2014 or so was that now you have a bond form where you sign onto. There are a number of districts at the back of the bond form.
Right.
Where you go to the district and the district assures you of a place after your training.
Right.
That was how the step was done. Now, that hasn't changed. For example, after my training, I was posted into a district.
Okay.
The district is where my sponsorship form was signed.
Okay.
Yes. So we can start that conversation, and because I've never seen a trainee rejecting a posting to an area. I've never seen that. If you want to say that people go behind the scenes and be doing other stuff, there's a conversation that we can have.
Okay.
But still, they are posted to where their services are needed.
All right, Deputy Speaker, let me ask you one question. I know so that I can wrap you so that you can go. Do teacher trainees in UCC and Winneba also receive feeding grants? If not, don't you think this policy is discriminatory since all of them end up with the same degree in education?
Let me answer that with a question.
All right, go ahead.
Now, ECG do have a training school.
Okay.
Where they train people after they've gone to the university to do their electrical engineering stuff. They still take them into their school to train them.
Right.
So you ask yourself, what about those also studying electrical engineering in other institutions? Will they be given the same recruitment that ECG is doing? So that is why I said that it's a choice that we make. I want to be in a training college. At the end of the day, what are the modalities for me to be in a training college? That is why I started with saying that they are seen as partial government workers. That was why before the cancellation, we were receiving our allowances straight away from controller. And again, the conversation shouldn't be about whether we want to prioritize it or whether does it make any economic sense or whatever. The cancellation aspect was purely political. The economy wasn't able to support it then.
Right.
So the government felt it, well, let me cut my expenditure. Where do I cut it from? Let me stop this. But again, we all, those of us as panel members having the discussion,
right.
There is no argument as to what the NPP believes in keeping the allowance or the NDC believes in keeping the allowance. Even the government that cancelled it then, in 2016, went out playing on tabletop. You ask yourself, so what was the political decision then?
Right.
So for where I sit, and as a product of training college,
right.
If we say that we are taking that off, then we need to fold them up. Let them be just like any other tertiary institution that you find in this country.
All right. So my last question to you, do you think it is proper to politicize our education? Since you're a politician, and you think it is proper, so what if another administration comes and then they said, okay, fine, we want to scrap up all this thing and then something new? I mean, it's like as if we take one step forward and after another 8 years, we take one step backwards. What do you say about it? You think it is proper? or we should come up with something that will kind of consolidate this idea so that it will take another administration to even scrap it out. What do you think about this, sir?
We've had only one cancellation under the Fourth Republic by a government from 2013 up to 2016.
Right.
It wasn't as if the one that started in 1992, 1996, ending in 2000, cancelled it.
Right.
The one started in 2001 up to 2008, cancelled it.
Right.
The one that came in 2009 up to 2013 didn't cancel it.
Right.
But you ask yourself, from 2013 up to 2016, what happened? What occasioned its cancellation? So that is what we need to tackle the conversation from.
Right.
And I see it purely as a basis on the economy. Government felt that I wouldn't be able to sustain it based on the economy as a then. Now, let me give you that information as well.
Right.
In 2016, those who even completed colleges of education that needed automatic employment.
Right.
Government in 2016 said that before they can start any meaningful work as a professional teacher, they are to be posted into the schools without allowing them to teach until the financial clearance is determined and given out by the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
So it tells you, the question comes back. Why? Because a trainee at a training college do have an automatic employment.
Right.
But they are saying that per their dictation, they should be posted into the classroom, but they are not supposed to teach until the financial clearance is sought. Then it tells you the decision to cancel it was purely based on the economic strength of the country as at that time.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with whether it's a political stand, whether we do have, does it make an impact? Is it necessary or it is not necessary? That was never the conversation. And I think we need to straighten the path and get it from that angle.
Right. Thank you so much. And I would like to just ask, I'll put one request before you that if it is possible, they will the government or the administration should try and speed up with their allowance. Because even though they say delayer is not denier, but in a case like this, delay is like denier. Thank you so much, sir. I have your number now. And
I could have a comment on that.
you want? Okay.
I think I could have a comment on that.
All right.
I agree. You know what? I agree with you.
Yes.
But what again we need to understand is that the status quo has changed.
All right.
And the status quo changed after the cancellation of the teacher trainee allowance. Now today, the payment is done through the student loan transfer and outfit, where monies are released to them, and then they process it and pay it out to them.
Right.
But the angle of payment and getting it to the final person is where we need to look at it, because within the quarter, then it is paid. Within the quarter, then it is paid.
Right.
But constantly, what amount that government owes makes an effort to pay it off. But I think you can help us, including Divine, is that we should pay them through the controller system, just like we were having it in the olden days. So that they will be giving their staff ID straight away. After college, they wouldn't be going for any staff ID where people will be doing underhand dealings, etc.
Right.
So that constantly it will flow just like a monthly government paying its workers at the end of the month.
All right.
And we can start having that conversation from that end. But I still insist, the allowance is as irrelevant as it was before its cancellation. And its cancellation has nothing to do with being it's equitable to other people who are also reading education elsewhere. Right. The parameters are different. The employer has a stake and develop the curriculum for the training of the teacher, not the university.
Thank you so much, sir. And then I'm so excited finally I was able to get you on your cell phone. I'll be getting you back on this show, sir, and we have a lot to talk about.
Sure, I think I have to travel there and sit in the studio.
Definitely,
that could be the best way.
I will love you to be here with me in Pennsylvania. Then we can go into nitty gritty and on education issues concerning Ghana. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, sponsor myself and Divine so that we'll be there.
Don't you worry. Everything will be possible. Talk to me after the show.
Thank you. You have a nice day.
All right, sir. Okay. Mr. Jonathan.
Okay.
Mr. Jonathan, you are the one on the ground. You are a foot soldier. You are the one on the ground. They are talking about you. You are the one feeling the pinch. Talk to me. What do you say? You've listened to the deputy speaker. And then, yeah. Jonathan. Jonathan, work on your. I can't hear you, Jonathan. Work on your this thing. Your defined.
Can you
You
hear
have
me?
heard. Yes, sir. The text messages are coming. I mean, divine. A lot of people are giving you a thumbs up
Erased
over
that.
here. Yes, yes, yes. They say design divine, you are doing a good job, or all your punches are landing. I mean, all it looks like the ratio is I
Yeah, I
think
think
6:4. Mhm. Let's see whether let's do
I
some
have to
justice
address.
to
I have to
Jonathan.
address text
Jonathan,
messages. A lot
because
of
Jonathan is the one on the ground. Johnny, was speak to me. No, Jonathan, you have to work on
can I
your this thing, your mic. I can't hear you. All right. Um,
can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It looks
Can you hear
like
me?
Jonathan is having a problem. Okay. Divine Land. The time is fast spent, but let us just do it
Okay.
snappy, and then we'll move to the next show.
Your
Right.
call has been put on hold. Please
All
wait.
right.
Your call has been put on
So
hold.
as I've
Please wait.
mentioned, our
Yeah.
position is clear. I spent this coming few minutes to address some of the issues that are in comments. My boss on Paul said that there are more teachers in urban areas and less in the private areas, and therefore my point that there are more teachers or surplus is no. The fact is that yes, I have made that point that there are a lot of teachers that are enough for our classrooms, just that they are congested in the urban areas. They are living the peri-urban and rural areas, and they are congested. And if we can redeploy them effectively, we'll have teachers in every classroom. So I have just taken a point that, okay, given a percentage of the surplus, although I understand that you have more than one teacher, but even you take 9 teachers for GSS, you have enough teachers. And there are teachers in the are waiting for posting. So we have teachers to be deployed. That one has to be made clear. And then the deputy PR points, I still struggle to understand. Teacher trainees are not part of formal government work. And as he said, okay, when they are enrolled, they are part of formal government work, therefore are paid allowance. No, when it policy, let's understand from policy and action and then implementation points.
Right.
The policy was implemented to person into profession, not to be treated as a pseudo teacher. No, they were not like that. They were to be attracted. And so when we need to approach this point, we need to ask ourselves: is that particular purpose still holding to today? The answer is no. When you take away allowance, you will see enough of person wanting to go to of education. And I cited the BA that they are doing. Previously, it was diploma. Now they are doing BA. That alone to them. Now, that point that they want to post them to deprived areas in the country, we are saying that instead of giving everybody the money in the colleges of education, so that after completion you can post them to the private areas, the majority of them at the end of the day posted to urban areas, not the private area. So keep that money rather used to add to the salary as an allowance that was posting to the deprived area instead of giving it to everybody, which majority to third of them will not even be going to the rural areas, now the private. Why so equity in policy implementation? You look at the equity. Everybody will not enjoy the allowance equally, and then a few, 1/3 of them will be posted to deprived areas, while the majority will be in the non-deprived areas. Keep that money and send and keep it to those who that will be accept the post, because teacher attrition rates in the deprived area is 1 to 2 years. They serve 1 year or 2 years. They leave the deprived area because the condition isn't good. So if you want to maintain them, there must be an allowance of sort for them. Am I on air?
All right. Are you on air?
Matthew,
Can
can you
I
hear me?
cut you and yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Let's see whether if we can get Jonathan, because I know Jonathan needs to speak.
Hello?
Jonathan. Hello? Jonathan, can you hear us? I think Jonathan is off.
Hello, Martins?
Divine, I can still hear you. I can still hear you. I can still hear you, Divine.
Martin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you, Divine. I can hear you. Hello, can you hear me, Jonathan? I want to give you the last straw, Jonathan. It's all about your mic is muted, and I can hear you. I wanted to give you the wrapping up statement, Jonathan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so unfortunate that getting to the end of this program, we're having problem with technical issues, but it's because we're streaming live from the United States, and my guests are streaming also participating from Ghana. So therefore, some of these things do happen, gentlemen, and gentlemen, that is all that I I will allow for tonight on the show. Thank you so much, Divine and Yapoku Deputy Speaker, and Jonathan, for coming over to speak your heart. And then I know the text messages are over and over, and I just want to say thank you to you all. We hope that, and if I call upon you to come over to strengthen your case on this issue pertaining education, you will be here. And please, those who are listening to this program, please do not forget to um, press a like and then subscribe on Mozart Wood Media on Facebook, and also on YouTube, and also on Instagram. And come next week, God willing, same time with another exciting program. Until then, my name is Martin Petigo, and I just want to end up by saying that shalom, peace, and life to you. Until next week, Sunday, stay blessed. God bless you.